Hello, welcome to the Augmentation of Man with Kent and Renee Miller, where we are bringing the future.
We're going to talk about the collective movement of planetary bodies.
And that is called the crossover. And this is going to be taken out of our first book, The Augmentation of Man, A Study in Renaissance. It's in chapter 12, and it is called the crossover.
We're going to try to explain it, well, we've interpreted it a little more clearly so you can understand what's going on. And we've had some confirmation from science of the things that we had gotten 10 years ago or 12 years ago even. So we're going to go into this and try to enlighten you.
So this is an event that is coming relatively soon. We can't put a date on it because whenever you assign dates, we're usually wrong. So that's why we don't do it. And time is relative to the movement of energy. So, we don't know this movement of energy and how it's progressing.
But we know it's going to happen, and it's already beginning. We know that. And
yes,
we'll go into that in this video.
And so what we're talking about is this collective movement of planetary bodies.
This is within our galaxy.
Yes.
We're talking.
So within the Milky Way galaxy, we're going to see a shifting of planets and their orbits. And in this book, which is available on Amazon, it goes into more detail. And so if you'd like to follow along, you're welcome to. If you want to get a copy of it and research it further, if you don't have one already, again, that's available on Amazon. So we're going to start with just a generalization of the planetary movements within their orbits are what create cycles, and there's cycles within cycles. And we're talking about, in this video today, we're talking about the larger grand cycle. So each cycle, according to our guidance, includes periods of learning, and each one is building upon the past. So they are progressively going to higher and higher states of enlightenment, and these cycles are coordinated by the planetary alignments. While they are grouped in certain groupings, they produce a vibrational field, and those fields will influence the events that are happening on Earth, and then we reflect on those events for our own learning and enlightenment.
Yeah, the Hopi tradition and the Hopi teach, and they believe that we are now closing the fourth world, which we are in today. The door is closing, and the fourth world will close, and the fifth world will open into a brand new grand cycle. Each cycle has ended in all these worlds, from the first world to the now fourth world, will end in great catastrophes brought upon this earth. Actually, the great catastrophes brought upon all the planets, the changes that affect them. And humans call them catastrophes, but it's a cycle. That cycle will end with, here on Earth, an earthquake, volcanic activity, earthquake increasing, fires, pandemics, pestilence, food shortages, and the shifting of the oceans. All that is part of the ending cycle that has always been, and the new cycle will open much calmer
and rebalance.
Yeah, so because everything will be rebalanced.
Yeah. So part of this is due to all these massive changes that are happening that are a result of realignment of planets and their orbits changing. And part of this is due to the rebalancing that needs to occur to bring everything back into balance.
Yeah, and the larger cycle is not equal to the length relative to the Earth time. Earth time is totally different. It's based upon the larger cycles of, I want to say universe, but we're going to keep this in our galactic field, and the planetary alignments belonging to that field in our knowledge.
Okay, so there's cycles within cycles. So
Yeah,
we're talking about what's going on within our galaxy, but our galaxy is within a universal field, and it is only part of a cycle within a universal cycle. So the beginning of a new cycle creates the ending of the past cycle, and it is a end of a way of thinking, opening up to a higher vibrational field for higher thought and intellectual movement directed by the universal consciousness. And so part of that includes the neural net that we've been talking about, which is a plasmic network that carries intellectual information in the light. And that neural net is going through a molecular upgrade. And that is going to enable the neural net to carry a higher amount of conscious understanding that we will be able to tap into. However, our own bodies molecularly have to go through an upgrade as well, which will be occurring so that our own neural net system, our brain, will be able to process that higher information.
Yeah, humanity has an opportunity to move into a higher realm of learning, a higher level of consciousness, and quietly contemplate the new conceptual ideas for more understanding, greater understanding. We are returning to living, we want to return to living in harmony on this Mother Earth. And
we need to, we're going to be.
A higher level of consciousness is derived from humans awakening to what's going on around them, awakening to the entities and the self around us and those that want to converse with us. We have so much to learn. We are like little children.
Mm-hmm. And also that bonding with the earth. The earth is a part of the universal structure of universal consciousness.
But we have to,
and holds a level of consciousness. And when we bond with the earth and we bond with the galactic consciousness, then we can channel this information unto ourselves.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. We have to go to the galactic consciousness first. Don't forget about the universal consciousness right now, the universal laws. Just try to connect with the galactic field, the galactic consciousness.
Okay, so all events that occur are relative to planetary alignments that set the stage through vibrational output. And those events are for our learning and our conscious evolvement. The reason these cycles end in catastrophic events is because the galaxy is rebalancing and preparing for the next cycle, realigning planets in their orbits to create a new vibrational field. And all these movements create massive changes to all planetary bodies, including Earth, which results in Earth changes.
Now, I feel propelled to say this, that humanity, the leaders of humanity, are just humans only. There is entities outside of Earth that are much older, thousands, if not millions of years older, that have a higher level of consciousness, that have a higher level of understanding and learning. They are trying to teach humanity. It's like trying to teach a kindergartner
who has the attention span of a gnat.
And I'm told these people that are leaders, and you're mad at all these different governments in the world that are doing whatever they do to humanity. These are only humans. They are not above any human here. They are leaders of the kindergarten, basically. And so you have to understand a higher consciousness will override all humanity if you can get there.
And in our own experience, because we have had telepathic communication with other beings from outside the earth, that they truly want to help humanity move forward. And so this whole idea of this space force for protection against other entities outside of Earth, I think we would have to question, because at least in our own experience, these other entities are of goodwill and they want to share knowledge and understanding with humanity and help humanity move forward in their own conscious evolution.
They don't want to share the knowledge and understanding if we misuse it.
Right, yeah. And so that includes misusing it against the earth.
Yeah. So going back to what we were saying before, the crossover is a realignment of all the planets within our galaxy. And that is now occurring. So the shifts, the interplanetary field poles, all these things are happening. The shift of the planetary field poles marks the beginning of the next cycle. And you can see this and get confirmation through Suspicious Observer on YouTube, and listen to his particular broadcast when he confirms the changing of the field movement within our own solar system. And it's throughout the galactic system.
So there's lots of changes coming, and they're going to be occurring fairly soon, at least in universal terms. But we will most likely see these in our lifetime. And we're telling you now so that you can watch and observe and notice these changes as they're occurring, because it is really awesome when we've received this information and Kent and I hear about scientific information coming forward that validates it. And so we're giving you that heads up so that you can also watch what's going on as far as changes within the Milky Way galaxy that might give you the heads up that, yes, these changes are coming, and we're going to see this great crossover happen, which is a very big event.
How about the new species?
Yes, and so this crossover involves many things. So it involves the shift of planets in their orbits. It involves the introduction of new species with the die-off of other species, but it's all aligning to the new vibrational alignment of the Earth. It also includes an increased density of molecular weight, which will change the subatomic structure and make all atoms heavier within the subatomic structure. And that increased density also takes place within the atmospheric gases that make up the plasmic cords of the neural net that we talked about earlier. And that enables that communication system and other communication grids to be improved so that we will have better communication. This crossover also involves a higher genetic expression and mental ability that will enable us to process the information that we will get off of these communication grids, so that we can understand it, which is very important, because knowledge has no meaning if we cannot understand it.
Yeah, the higher genetic expression is very important here. So a movement in the field within the function of this system creates a pressure buildup within this field. So in the galactic field, there's a pressure buildup, which is creating stress on the central parts of the system, the galactic system. So releasing this pressure will result in the slowing and the movement within the galaxy. Things are going to change. They're rotating more rapidly right now. The planets, different things are happening to the planets within our solar system.
Mhm.
But now we're going to probably visualize with our new technology the changes within the galactic planetary system.
And so what you're saying is that when this buildup, this pressure buildup releases, then we're going to see planetary orbits slowing down at first.
They change, right?
And then this release allows a collective planetary movement to occur. And our guides have talked about some sort of a banding process around Earth's core system, which will cause the spin to accelerate.
And the spin is accelerating as we speak.
Yeah, and it has over the course of 2020, there were 28 days where the spin increased by milliseconds, but that was the most events that had happened during a year that since 1960 that resulted in an increased spin, a faster spin of the Earth.
And Venus and different planets are also increasing their spin.
So
they've been out of balance for such a long period of time.
But part of this, why it is happening is that, and they're telling us, our guides are telling us, this spin is going to increase even more right before this shift of the planetary bodies, because this is going to create the balance. It's going to, faster spin will create enough balance so that the Earth can move and not go like tumbling out in space.
Yeah, so things will happen, and as you look up into the sky when this change does happen, you will see, excuse me, a new sky, and Earth will shift to make this. The Earth itself will not become new, but the lands will shift. So new heaven, some say, new Earth. It's new Earth because things have changed. What you see now will change what you visualize in the sky, and the different
even the topography of Earth
the
will
constellations
change.
in the sky will change, and the topography of the Earth lands will change.
Yes, because we've been told that when this happens, you're going to see that valleys will rise, mountains will fall, and the Earth, the oceans are going to shift and occupy more of the surface of the Earth, so that we're going to have more water over the surface of the Earth than we've had. And so lots of Earth changes, and this is why we keep telling everybody, get stocked up on food reserves, non-perishable food, and lots of seeds so that you can endure all these changes that are coming.
Yeah, so the shifting of the planets, the orbital patterns of the planets, is a mathematical redistribution in the weight within this galaxy. So, which this has an effect on all planetary gravity.
Yes, and the disturbance in the the electromagnetic field changes the geometry of matter, and this creates new parameters that shift all matter to this higher expression. Yeah. And I also want to say that the Earth will be realigned. When all this happens, the Earth will be realigned to the central field of the universe, which is going to determine this next step of learning for us, and sets the parameters for what information is available to us at this level that we're entering into.
Yeah, so this creates a higher expression of the matter, of matter, which creates a higher order of learning. Are we ready for the new learning? Are we ready to step into that sphere of communication, higher thinking, and higher learning? Is your consciousness ready for this?
And so, but in preparation for that, we are going to be upgraded genetically. So the human, and this is in different ways. So all relevant DNA is going to be switched on. We have a lot of DNA that's not being expressed now, and some scientists have called it junk DNA, which isn't true.
But now
It
they're
was
finding
turned off in the ancient past, and now we're going to have this genetic, these markers being able to be placed on the genome to be able to turn it on. And we're going to see that we have abilities that we didn't have in the past.
Yes, and science is now learning that there is no junk DNA. It's all has a value.
It has purpose. We're also seeing a genetic upgrade within the new children being born. And there's going to be 3 phases that each phase will exponentially increase the genetic expression of humanity, moving us in the future to a much different level than what we have seen in the past.
Yeah, so what, when this Earth shifts into create the balance, when all the planets in our solar system and the galactic system create the new balance, what will it look like? What will it look like when we get there? That's what's going to be interesting.
So when this arrives, I asked, you know, what is this going to look like? How will we know when this change, this great change is upon us? And they said there will be this flash of light, and it'll be like ripples of light flashes. And then there will be chaos within the atmospheric gases.
In the atmospheric gases.
So I kind of think about, and this is my interpretation, is that this chaos within the gases maybe will look like wind. This is my interpretation. And who knows if that's going to include dust in the air and blocking the sun. That is our own mind, and that's not what we were told in relative to this lesson. However, we were told at other times that we would see the sun would be blocked for a period of time, and that there would be great winds, and that the plants may have to adapt to interior luminescence, meaning we would need plant lights to grow our food.
There's several things that can cause the blocking of the sun, including volcanoes and whatnot. But,
right. So we're not sure if it is associated with this particular lesson
but
here.
The orbital shift itself in all the planets will cause, here on Earth, will cause land movement. And I'm not sure if on the other planets it'll cause land movement. If there's water, it probably will. Shifting the oceans here on Earth to cover more of the surface. Okay, it'll cover more of the surface, and therefore the lands will be moved, and lands will lose some of the coastal areas or whatever as they move. So many natural influences will occur to make necessary for these changes to take place, and it's going to be very unpleasant for humanity and other species here.
And, you know, you have to consider today's atmosphere around the globe. Man is at war with himself. And so you see this great political divide. You know, one side, you know, you see these polarizations, these great polarizations. So you see one side moving to the far polarized side. That causes the other side to shift to the other polar side to create balance. But in the meantime, you've got the great divide, and nobody can find the middle. And that's where eventually we need to get back to, is that middle, because once the truth comes out, then you start to see the polar ends coming in. And that will push people to the middle, because they will finally have the truth.
The middle is the relevance. The truth brings a consciousness where we're supposed to be, where all mankind should be, and it'll bring unity. That's the only place you're going to find unity.
But for now, we've got this great social chaos occurring, and then you add all these earth changes on top of it. So things are going to get really rough for a few years. And we're being told you need to prepare for self-sustaining for 3 years. So this is not going to be for the faint of heart.
Okay, we need to let go of the old processes and the old way of learning and the old way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
So the oracles open the pathway to a vision which very few recognize, but there are those here on earth that are given the vision of what is to come and what is happening. Speak up, tell your vision, because it has so much relevance on where we are supposed to go.
I do want to say too that when we talk about all these changes, it's very stressful, and it eventually will cause a lot of desperation within the human race. But this desperation has the potential to create an understanding within the higher dimensional self. And this allows us to see things from a higher perspective, to see a more panoramic view, and allows us to let go of that resistance to the change and move us toward that end goal of where humanity needs to end up, resetting our path to a greater conceptual understanding, and that will be aligned to universal law. So all of these changes are necessary. We've got to be strong, and we've got to support one another and eventually come together unified. That's not going to happen right away, but eventually this is going to reset our path to a higher level, and it is going to be what they have told us. It'll seem miraculous. Yeah. We're going to have a whole paradigm shift, and things will greatly improve.
What we need to do as humans is to vote in those who have a higher level of consciousness, vote out those who do not. And then we begin to move towards the middle and unite.
We hope that this has brought some understanding of some of the events that are going to be taking place in our future. It's not to create fear, it's to create
understanding.
Right, and a level of understanding that so that when it happens, you know what's happening, you can prepare for it. So knowing that all these changes are going to affect, for example, our food supply, prepare for that. Use that as an opportunity to prepare. Yeah. Just like if you knew a snowstorm was coming in, you're going to go to the grocery store and you're going to get all stocked up, and you're going to have water and things like that that you might need in case you can't get out for a while or you lose power. This is the same thing. It is no different.
And if you have pestilence, learn to eat the high protein bugs. I know we're humans that go, oh no, I can't. Learn to eat what's been put here for our consumption, even though we don't realize it.
Yeah, so, you know, the United States had a locust infection. Gosh, I don't even remember what year it was, but a lot of people died of starvation because the locusts ate all of the food crop. That didn't have to be, because we're seeing another locust infestation circulating the world right now. So it's been in Africa and the Middle East.
And you can catch them and fry. You can fry them up or boil them or whatever, but they are high protein.
We're also seeing it in South America, and who knows, does that end up eventually migrating to the United States? I don't know. I can't answer that at this point. But when we asked about, well, what do we do if locusts were here and ate our crops? And the answer was, eat the locusts. And so they told us to do some research. And so when I did some research on locusts, and actually there are some cultures that eat them, but they have a less water content in their body, so they're quite dense and dry, and they are actually full of nutrients and protein. So there you go.
We got to get past this point of going yuck.
One thing though, because I myself have a very hard time thinking about that possibility, but what I did learn is that they can be dehydrated and dried out and then ground into a flour. So if you've got other flour, you could just mix it in and make your own high protein flour.
There you go.
You have to make light of this.
There's a lot of things that are put here for us to understand and to consume, if you want to use the word, but using a higher level of consciousness will help us understand why it's been put here. And we probably will not be turning our head on many of the things that we do right now.
So want to wish you a good day, and we always, peace be with you on your journey to enlightenment. Take care. Bye-bye now.